bet on yourself. Literally just do it. Do it right, do it wrong, just do it. You'll figure it out. You know, you can always start over. And even with that, goal set, like properly goal setting. Goal setting has always been something that I did first, like my entire life, since high school, right? Long term, short term, just writing it out, writing the vision, make it plain. And if you have to pivot, that's okay, but at least know that you're striving for something. And it's okay to have a job while you do your entrepreneurial journey, right? Like understanding the value of leverage and knowing, like, in order for me to do this, I need to do this over here as well. Yeah. Or do that. Like, it's okay to have multiple things going on, multi-hyphenated. You don't have to just do one thing.
Let me spell it for you, W-I-L-L-I-E. Nobody truer than H-O-V. And I'm back for more. New York's ambassador, prime minister, back to finish my business up.
Welcome back. It's Marketing Mentality, the podcast, and I'm Desmond Walker. Got Alan Shelton, and to my left, Mr. Jasper Hagan, very special guest from Full Court Marketing, and that's what we're here to talk about is Jasper's origin story as a practitioner of the industry. I'll let him give his own spill and do it much more justice, but we're going to talk about Jasper's story, every thing incredible that he's doing at Full Court, and hop right on into it.
Yeah, man. Jasper, first and foremost, welcome to the pod, man. Happy to have you.
You're all for having me.
Yeah, you're a busy man. A lot of things happening. We can relate to that. First and foremost, how you feeling about everything, man? It's Q1 just happened, getting to the spring.
I'm absolutely amazing. I'm excited about it. You know, for a lot of people, Q1 was just, they wanted to take off running, but I'm a firm believer. You treat Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 like it's game 7.
Yeah.
So no matter the quarter.
Okay. Game 7. Hey, playoffs are coming up. That's a good reference, man. I want to start this off very easy, very, understanding of what you do, right? Our audience hears a lot about marketing from a digital perspective and how the nuances of that works for brands and companies and things of that nature. Can you talk about the industry of experiential marketing and how you got started and what that looks like practically?
For sure. So I like to say I sit at the intersection of marketing, management, and partnerships.
Yep.
So my background, I started off as a seller, so strictly sales, and I was doing CPG sales for a variety of companies. But then I went on to be a seller at iHeartMedia. So I worked at iHeart for almost a decade. And there, I like to say, attribute to cutting my teeth, where I had to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So you had to sell, you had to write, you had to be the promotions team, you had to do it all. So there is where I learned experiential in and out. Because at the end of the day, it's my client, and I got to make sure that it's on point.
Yeah. Wow. And what exactly, for our listeners and viewers out there, what exactly is experiential marketing, and how does that differ from traditional marketing or digital marketing?
It is when you bring things to life, in a sense.
Yeah.
So you're using all of your senses, if you will. So if you see it, feel it, touch it, taste it, all those different things and those nuances come together to bring forth an experience and draws a connection with you and that brand.
Wow. Wow. Sound, sight, and emotion. I know you're being very humble, man. You've worked with people like Coco Jones and Keke Palmer and things of that nature. Can you speak about, you mentioned at the intersection of partnerships and bringing that together. Can you speak about the nuances of those partnerships and partnerships similar to that make the marketing experiential side of it come to life?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I've been fortunate enough to work with dope brands, but also dope talent. So what you're referencing is about on the talent side.
Right.
So what happens is a brand will come to me and say, hey, we have a new product that we're launching. We have a new goal, whatever the case it may be, and they want to come up with ways to elevate it. So typically when we're working with talent, it's A-list talent, and we come to them with recommendations like, oh, you're coming out with this new line, you should consider this person, or that person. And sometimes we get the first person that we want. Sometimes, things happen.
Yeah.
And we get the best person for the job. I'll put it that way. So not the fifth or sixth, but the best person.
Yeah.
So in those examples, it was super amazing because they were both different in a sense, right? So with the Coco Jones example, Shea Moisture was launching a new line of deodorant, and it was a deodorant for rich melanated skin. So it was dermatologist tested, and it was specifically for highly melanated skin. And again, I'm not on the brand side, so if I miss a certain word about how they go to market, this is all
This is your perspective.
my perspective, exactly.
Fair.
So they were looking for the best person to do that at the time. And Coco was coming in hot, in the sense of she's just been nominated for a Grammy. They did something with Fisk University. The gymnast, she's from Tennessee.
Right.
So it was like a partnership that was like a match made in heaven. So typically, if we're recommending talent or if I'm recommending talent, we want to make sure that they're easily woven into the fabric of the brand.
That's so important. We talk about brand storytelling and brand alignment. A lot of companies, a lot of corporations take a misstep when it comes to
get it wrong.
identifying, right? They get it wrong in terms of identifying who should represent this, right? And sometimes it isn't the most popular person everyone knows, right? Sometimes it could be. That would be great if it is. But sometimes it's the up and coming things. We had a segment about, not a segment, but I was talking about Dolce, right? How Dolce's Reign, right, came up and then Nike hopped on that with the voiceover with their campaigns and things of that nature, right? So it's important that you understand how that works, the intersection of that. Can you speak about when it doesn't work like that, or when you have to step in and say, like, all right, this probably doesn't make sense or what I want to bring to life?
Absolutely. So
I know you got an example or two.
I'm just trying to think about, is that NDA over? Is that what I'm
Right.
thinking about stuff like that?
Nobody
of
in trouble on
limitations.
this. Yeah.
Right. So no, I'll give you a prime example. And I will say this, that coming in, working as an agency, shout out to the brand managers, the brand directors, the marketing directors, the CMOs that really trust what you do and allow you to do your big one.
Wow.
Because then it's like, thank you for rolling the dice, and you see how favorable those results are. And I'll give you this example. So this brand, they're in the beauty space, and they wanted to do something with an influencer to promote their products. And we went through a laundry list of people who we thought made sense, and we went with someone who turned out to be absolutely amazing. But on the onset, people question how well they would do based on their online persona or what their online persona was perceived to be.
Right.
And surprisingly to the brand and the company, that they knocked it out of the ballpark. I trusted that they would do it because, again, the facts were there, the data was there.
Yep.
I was speaking with their team, speaking with them, and I was just blown away by how professional they were. And I mean, like, the brand was even blown away because they thought one thing, but they went on to love this person. And I wish I could say the name.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you probably tell us off camera, man. It's
Okay,
all
I'll for sure tell you offline. But they did an amazing job. And I mean, it was so relatable, right?
Yeah.
Like initially because it was a multi-month program.
Yeah.
So initially the consumers questioned the legitimacy of the partnership.
Right.
But they actually loved the product. They actually used it. They had a compelling story from it, and it was a win-win.
Yeah.
Wow.
That actually leads me to a question I have about post-campaign. Experiential is offline, right? Which I think means that there has to be intention about how you measure success with it. Can you speak to that? And when you're talking about whether it's product-based or another kind of what that campaign centers around, how do you as a marketer tell that story when you're getting with a client after the fact and deciding whether it was successful or not?
Well, on the onset, we need to align on what the KPIs are, right? Whatever you set out for, did you hit it? What are your benchmarks?
Yeah.
If we said that we want to have 100 people buy this, we want to make sure we get 2 million impressions. We want to make sure we sample 1,000 people. Did we do those things?
Yeah.
And if we did more than that, how do we over-index, right?
Yeah.
Did we sell 2 million, whatever those numbers are, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but just answering that, I think that it's an online and offline thing, especially coming off the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, we needed to make sure that we still providing experiences,
Yeah.
even if we couldn't be there in the same space with you. So,
Yeah.
you know, like even during then, we were sending care packages out, getting on Zoom. I know everybody remember the watch parties on Zoom
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
and things like that. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks for breaking down the KPI part as well. For the people watching or listening, you know, we're talking to entrepreneurs, business owners, but also people at a professional level too that may be at the beginning of their or getting ready to get into the field. And so we want to, as practitioners, be able to kind of just get them fluent in the language that we talk day to day.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Acronym kings and queens around here.
Yeah.
I love it. When you think about your craft, right? And people, I mean, you're not the only person in the world with an experiential marketing agency. What do you think separates you or the vision that you have for how you bring your activations to life and the vision you have for success and performance success as that continues?
Absolutely. I think to your point, within the experiential space, you know, we're one of millions, right? But in terms of what we bring to the table, it's a one-on-one. So what I mean by that is a white glove service. Like we get business all the time, right? But we want the repeat business. We want clients that trust us so that they refer us, they use us time and time again. And the reason what makes us stand out is we understand the culture. And when we say culture, it's not necessarily Black people, right? We understand whatever culture we need to be a part of because we're going to bring in experts in those fields to help us understanding and bring things to life, understand the cultural differences, understand all those things we need to make sure that the program is a success. And for us, it's not always about money. We've done projects where we've lost money, right?
Wow.
But we've done it so that we can ensure that the event was a success, right? We ensured that the client got everything that they needed so that we can build that trust with them to be able to do more in the long run. We're playing the long game.
Yeah.
You bring up a powerful dynamic there, I think, in the agency world that we know day to day as far as, you know, every opportunity isn't going to be a cash cow, right? How do you weigh out that rubric for you on whether or not a relationship or an opportunity is worth going that extra mile to over deliver without being consumed on nickel and diamond the opportunity, you know?
Well, again, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Facts.
So in my personal life, I don't nickel and dime. So I'm not gonna, you forgot about this line. We're not gonna do that, right?
Yeah.
And that's another reason why we don't even solicit for business. It's a referral-based program. And hearing that now, it sounds kind of like cocky, but it didn't start that way. It was literally being the best kept secret. And it just evolved into people wanting to be a part of it and be a part of the mystique and all that great stuff.
Right. Speaking of evolution, you know, we know you now with the agency and in that capacity, right? But can we go back to the origin a little bit and kind of walk us through where that transition took place or how you prepared either consciously or unconsciously to be in the role you're in now?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a funny story. So I was a seller at iHeart, as I mentioned. And when I was there, I always wanted to climb the corporate ladder. This is what I was taught. You know, that you have to, when you get a promotion, you're doing your job good. I was there to cut the lights on and cut the lights off. And I remember always being a student of the craft. So I wanted to learn from them. If they say you're the best, I want to learn from you. If they say this person's the worst, I wasn't going to if they say that this person's the worst, I want to see what they're doing so I don't do it.
Right.
So I can understand and develop my own way of doing things. So in doing that, I was doing it for iHeart, and I remember my boss at the time told me 3 years in, now granted, I'm killing it, killing sales and doing all that great stuff. And he mentioned that I need to be there for 10 years before I got a promotion.
Wow.
So when you got somebody young and ambitious like me, that's like you putting a cap on me and telling me like 10 years. I'm like,
wow.
3 years in, you telling me, oh, you're the best person I ever hired, but 10 years.
You gotta,
I'm just
like what?
Oh, okay. So I went over here and built my own table, right? And then building my own table, it was the best kept secret. Now, you know, it was me starting my company that at the time I didn't know it was a conflict of interest.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, when I was walked out of there, they did tell me it was a conflict of interest. They later told me that. But it was church and state for me. It was like, okay, I'm doing my business out of market. I'm not working with any clients that I'm working on this side. I'm a top seller here. No lines are blurred. So I thought, but, you know, I was humbled. I was humbled real soon. And, just decided to bet on myself. And then betting on myself was right before, it was February 2020. And I'm like, okay, we're doing all these big events. We got Essence Fest lined up. We got World Natural Hair Show. We got all these things lined up, our Basel. And if you all remember, March 2020, the pandemic happened.
Second week.
So every event that we had on the books was off the books. And now I only have one source of income. And one source of income is too close to no source of income. Especially when you've always had multiple. So it was very, very humbling. And you had to get creative. So we started doing digital events, started doing virtual events. And during the pandemic, it was one of the times when we did our largest activation. And we did a podcast. What do we call it? It was supposed to be an Instagram Live, but it turned out to be an Instagram-based talk show with Tina Knowles. And it was Talks with Mama Tina. And that show went on to be nominated for a Daytime Emmy. So super excited that came out of that.
Wow.
Had to improvise with the Instagram thing, right? Like we all did. That part about going back to the iHeartMedia thing, it resonates a lot when you talk about that conversation you had and how that corporate complex called for you to be there for a certain amount of years in order to even get a chance of consideration. I had that same conversation myself. I worked at Comcast.
Okay.
Killed it. It was my first job out of school. I was an account executive, so I was selling. I was an AE. So I entered into Comcast as an AAE, as an associate account executive, being new to the space and whatnot, and killed it. I mean, it was a 12-month program. By like month 7th, I'm already having conversations with my sales manager about how to get promoted. Nonetheless, you know, in every way, shape, or form, I was A+ in it, to the extent where I'm like, okay, I can see myself navigating this ladder. What does that look like? I kid you not, Jasper. Same. Alan knows this.
That's why I started laughing.
Same conversation. Well, you're killing it, but you need 5 years more of doing this, and then we'll consider you for a sales management program, and then that'll be another 3 years, and then.
So when I said 10 years,
you might have a chance.
You like,
you might have a chance, and just being built like how we're built, as nice as that may sound for certain ears, for us, we hear that, and it's like, no, man.
Obama out. But what I realized, and I will say this, iHeart provided me so many opportunities to learn.
Absolutely.
And, you know, coming out of college, you know, you want to be able to hang your hat on a blue chip company so you can use their credibility, resources and credibility. But when you continue on and you start doing it, you realize is that you really the sauce. Like, people coming for you. They coming to see you, Otis. Something. But within that, I look at it now, if you had a coach on a basketball team, nobody wants to see the star player go from being a player to a coach somewhere else. So thinking about it in that way, you helping their bottom line. You know, you're helping their bonus. So I need you to be here 10 years because you're great at what you do, and I need more great people like you.
You saying a lot right now, man. For the people that are listening or watching this and they're on their entrepreneur journey or in their corporate journey, and they're struggling with how to allow their own fire, their own greatness to shine outside of a structure or a box, what advice would you give that person?
I 100% agree and like to say these things, right? One, bet on yourself. Literally just do it. Do it right, do it wrong, just do it. You'll figure it out. You know, you can always start over. And even with that, goal set, like properly goal setting. Goal setting has always been something that I did first, like my entire life, since high school, right? Long term, short term, just writing it out, writing the vision, make it plain. And if you have to pivot, that's okay. But at least know that you're striving for something. And it's okay to have a job while you do your entrepreneurial journey, right? Like understanding the value of leverage and knowing like, in order for me to do this, I need to do this over here as well.
Yeah.
Or do that. Like it's okay to have multiple things going on, multi-hyphenated. You don't have to just do one thing.
Yeah. That's great advice, man. I know that's what our listeners and viewers need to hear. And it's inspiring. And I think it's super dope that you and Dez have a similar story when it came time to your boss saying that. Because I know if it happened to you two, it happened to other people as well.
Absolutely.
But other people might feel discouraged by that. You looked at it as motivation, right? Like, hey, you said that, I'm gonna cut that in half and do my own thing.
And then, but even with that, just understanding that a book that I like to go back to is called The Four Agreements, right?
The Four Agreements?
The Four Agreements.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you who it's by, couldn't tell you all the agreements, right?
Okay.
What I know, one of my favorite agreements in that book is don't take anything personal. Because when that person said that to me or said that to you, we don't know what happened at their house the day before. We don't know what conversation they're having with their manager to tell them you need to do this or you're going to be out.
Wow.
So in saying that, people say certain things and they stick with you forever, but they don't even realize the magnitude of what they said.
Yeah.
So if we can release people of that stronghold on us, the further we can get, the better we can be.
Wow. That's very humbling, man. Like, I'm gonna have to check that book out.
It's so simple. You can read it in like an hour. It's the Four Agreements.
Okay.
Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personal. Always do your best. And I can't remember the last agreement.
We'll pull it up.
Yeah. Pivoting just a little bit. First of all, I love the craft, everything you do, experiential marketing. It's not something that we do, but it's something that we certainly appreciate. Using practical examples, I know brands like Sacred, you mentioned Miss Tina, right? Brands like Sacred and brands like Skims, which I talked about last time, are doing big things in the experiential realm right now because they have to, because they're getting people to come and shop their different products. I don't know if you saw it, but Skims had their first flagship store open in LA on Sunset Drive. But next to it, they used a diner to sell, to have breakfast being served at like a Skims pop-up, if you will, right? Can you speak about the importance, especially now, this day and age, pandemic is over, it's been over for a while now, the importance of big brands using experiential marketing to help increase sales, and then how it could be done improperly, even when you talk about a big brand?
Okay, so we're just talking about big brands in this sense. Okay, gotcha. Excuse me. So with the big brand idea about doing experiential marketing, for me, it starts with the strategy. The reason why we do experiential so well, because we understand strategy.
Yeah.
We understand that how it looks on the paper is how it's going to look when you see it. We're not doing the guesswork. We're not just, we feel like doing this. No. Everything was highly thought out and calculated. We stayed up all night working with our vendors to make sure we can bring this to life.
Yeah.
So I think in order for someone to do experiential well, they should do strategy first to make sure that it's knocked out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
But when you think about big brands in a sense, I think why it's important for them to do it right is because they need to set the bar. They need to set the tone. And because they have so many eyes and ears on them, they just can't rely on their laurels anymore. You gotta show us because it's so many competitors in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So just like you have a Skims, you have a Fenty. So you need to show up, and a consumer want more out of you, right? So give us that experience. Give them that experience.
Yeah.
You mentioned vendors as part of the process, Jasper. I was having this conversation with a client recently trying to break down how, especially for experiential, you're pretty much a conduit of several different pieces when it comes to that process coming together, right? For example, you may have an event that requires equipment. You may have an event that requires fabrication. You may have an event that requires whatever those different pieces are. I mean, we worked with projects that had all of 50 to 100 vendors. But for that client, it didn't land on them right away that it's extremely hard to find one source of all of that. Can you break that? Down?
It's just like building a house.
Right.
Yeah.
If I build houses and I am the general contractor in a sense, yes, I build houses. I set the vision. I do all those things.
Yeah.
But I'm going to call someone to do my plumbing.
Exactly.
I'm going to call somebody to do my flooring.
Yeah.
It's called an electrician. Is the reason these people have different titles.
Exactly.
And because you want quality, you want the best of the best, people cost different rates. You wouldn't be able to house all these people. The retainer can be big enough to pay all these people if you have the best of the best across the board. So you need to outsource and bring people on who can take on your project.
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
Yeah, and that's leadership too. I can imagine my next question goes into what is the day-to-day process in bringing all these pieces together? Because I know you ain't got to tell us. We already know it can be very stressful, very cumbersome, but seeing it come together is amazing.
Absolutely.
But can you talk about that process and the pain points and the great points along the road?
A great point with this is that you get to provide opportunity for so many people.
Yeah.
And because you have the trust of a blue chip company or a non-for-profit, but that client, if you will, you're able to lend that to someone else so that they can build their Rolodex and say that they had an opportunity to work on a project of that magnitude in some facet. But I like to look at it as every time we approach a project, it's more so like, what do you call that show? Like Scandal, gladiators in suits. What are we working on today? So we all jump on Zoom, or we all meet, and we'll say, all right, what's the project today? And we talk about it, we spitball about it, figure out what we need, how will we envision it if budget wasn't an option. We always start with the money out the door. If we can do it big, what would we do? Because that allows us to ideate, to dream, and do all those things. And then we'll scale it down based on the budget. So,
We like to ask clients, if you had a magic wand and you could wave it, what would that vision come to life as? And it's amazing to see what the answers are.
that's a good question. What we like to say is, what's the one thing you can't go without within this? It's because we can always relate back to that. You said you wanted this.
Yeah.
So these are your must-haves.
Let me write this down for, all right.
Let's not deviate from the must-haves because your must-haves may be, I really want to have a focal wall in this activation. So you said a focal wall. So if you want a focal wall, let's determine what's on that focal wall. Let's not say, oh, but I need these flowers. No, you told us the focal wall. So as long as we don't deviate from that focal wall, give us the autonomy to bring these things to life. Because we may be able to pull budget from this place to put there.
That's amazing, man. And then we like to manifest here, right? All the things that we want to accomplish are further than, are closer than what we even realize. So what's a brand or what's the initiative that you will be happy to work on that you haven't worked on yet?
So I couldn't get a pre-read of these questions.
Yeah, no.
He's off the dome.
Oh, man. It's off.
So thankfully, we've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of amazing companies across different verticals. Some of them are number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in a category. Some of them are emerging. So we welcome the opportunity to work with any and everyone and bring their visions to life. All you have to do is reach out to us at info@. But I guess some of the opportunities that we look forward to doing are spaces that you typically don't see us in. And when I say us, I mean a young black boy from the west side of Chicago. So, when we get a chance to really show that we can do it all and we can do it on like massive stages, I think that that's always appealing. I would say this though, we talked about doing a tour for a client through Europe. So I think that would be amazing.
Yeah.
We've done a lot in the States.
International is where you went.
Yeah, we did a lot in the States. We had our first international opportunity at the top of the year with the brand. That was dope. But to like curate a tour throughout Europe, it's like, yeah, that'll be dope. So
That'll be dope.
excited for international opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, and they're already on the way. Yeah. Honestly, I truly believe that.
I received that.
Yeah, but I love what you said about, hey, we want to go global now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we've done it. We've done some more stuff and more opportunities are coming in the States. But hey, let's expand, right? Because I can imagine that culture, that understanding is different there, right? That's a different challenge. That's a different understanding. That's another tier you got to go up, you and the people that you work with as well, too.
And then you mentioned one thing about challenges.
Yeah.
One thing that I learned is that you'll be surprised at those limitations that are out there, that just being able to problem solve, have the right discussion, you can change that.
Yeah.
And I'll give you this example. I remember working on a project where it was a helicopter company. And the helicopter company, they wanted talent to get in the helicopter and fly. And I'm just like, oh, it's just a simple flight. The amount of insurance we had to jump through to keep people in. And then we got there, they're like, oh, we'll take the doors off. And it was a great ride, but I'm just like, the amount of liability here. Then they wanted to skydive. They were all about experience.
Yeah.
So they had skydiving, they had helicopter rides, they had just all types of things in the States. If you did work with their company in Australia, you can get in a cage and they'll drop it in the water. But they wanted people to try this out. So they wanted to work with celebrities and influencers. But the insurance liability was crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
My palms are sweating.
Yeah.
From the thought of it.
So you just get to find out.
Yeah.
I like to push the lever to see what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. Congratulations too, going back to the international opportunity you said at the top of this year.
Yeah, thank you.
Everything you're saying to me says that there's possibility, right?
Absolutely.
It's closer and within reach than, sometimes we need that initial, like you mentioned, a European tour.
Yeah.
That first international project is what opens up that door that then opens up another door,
Absolutely.
which is dope.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. I had a question for you, Jasper. Going back to the agency and the internal structure of it, you're a leader by every way imaginable. But you also have a team behind you, or I should say beside you as well.
Yep.
I think it could really help people to understand what goes into being that leader, and how do you put a team around you that's effective?
I think that the way you put a team around you that's effective is you have to identify people's strengths. And they may not always be your friends or your family members to be on that team.
Say that again.
Yeah. Friends and family don't always mix when it comes to your business. And if you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. If you treat it like a hobby, it'll pay you like a hobby. And knowing that I want my business to treat me like a business, I have to respect it. So in respecting it, I understand that comes with a payroll. I've had people donate their times and intern, but you get a certain quality of work with that. Now, there, of course, are those, those diamonds in the rough where somebody's going to go super, super hard because they're passionate about it. But I need that passion to be fueled by something else. So knowing that it's attached to your paycheck is a great driver, because I need you to do it when you don't want to do it.
Right.
And you're not doing me any favors.
Yeah. That's interesting you say that, because we have a client we just signed on last week, and we were having a conversation with that client, and she was breaking down exactly how we were awarded the contract, and how I think she said she had reached out to like 8 agencies. Less than half of them responded, one being us. And the other competition we were faced with unknowingly pretty much told her that like they were willing to do whatever she needed and for however much she was willing to pay for it. It didn't matter what the budget was. And for her, that was a deal breaker.
It scares her.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Clients tell me, like, wait a minute. Knowing you're willing to do all this, like, you too low. And think about it. Yep. Everything good ain't cheap, and everything cheap ain't good. Yep. So the fact that you're thinking that this is a way for you to win the business, also give a client pause.
Yep.
Wow.
Usually we think we're pricing ourselves out by being too much, but it can go the other way.
Yeah.
It
actually brings us to the next question. In our entrepreneur journey, we all had to go through the point where we were like, all right, we're about to tick this thing up now, right? And having that anxiety, like, hey, I'm asking for compensation. Yes, I know I'm valuable, I know I can do the work, but taking that step to ask for it and know that you deserve it. Can you talk through what that process was when you decided to go from good to great, or whatever you want to call it, where you ticked everything up and it all flowed down from there?
Bet. So I love this because, again, as a seller by trade, I have to go in the room, I have to stand on business.
Yeah.
And what I will encourage entrepreneurs or anybody who's talking about money, this is a free piece of game. After you give your price, say nothing. Let it be awkward. You put it out there. Whoever talks first, they lose.
Ooh.
Because think about it. Once I say my price, if you ask me a question, Jasper, I want you this project, can you give me a quote? Now, don't just throw a number out there, But for this type of project, you're looking at about 120. I wasn't. No, I wasn't, no, I wasn't. No.
I'm not losing.
I told you.
Let's do it. Deal. Let's do it.
No, but within that is, because if you don't, the reason why I said 120 is because I said what the number was. You didn't ask me, can you explain why? Then I'll explain. But really, it's just put it out there and let them get feedback because they need to process it. You showing your hand way too soon. Now,
you bluffing, yeah. You bluffing, or you scared? Or you feel like you?
Yeah, like it's okay. Just put it out there and let them sit with it and respond. It's okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's true. I'm trained as a salesman myself through selling advertising through Comcast, and Comcast flew me out for a whole week out in Philly, and that was one of the things I learned during that course of that week is exactly what you just described.
Yeah, it's okay. And then again, it's not even about like it can really be worth that amount, right? It's more so that just being confident in what you're doing.
Psychological.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And another thing I learned too, I wasn't Comcast or iHeart, but I used to sell luxury apartment buildings as well. And one thing I always was taught was you have to ask for the sale as well.
Close the deal.
You got to close the deal.
Yeah.
You can show them, but give an amazing tour.
It's so great.
And it's so great and then you just leave, let them walk out the door. Like, did you ask for them to sign a lease, or did you ask for them to
close?
Right, close.
And again, some people don't like to be as aggressive.
Yeah.
That's fine, whatever style. But based on what I showed you right now, can you provide feedback, your initial feedback? But if I was trying to, that's if I'm not trying to sell now, right? But if I was trying to sell, I would say, what do you need to, what would take you right now to say yes to this?
Yeah.
And then, okay, well, what gives you pause? Tell me now, don't wait. Let me know now.
Right. Yeah. Leave it open-ended, right? You know, so that they can allow them to tell you, and then you can what's called overcoming objections, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
okay, I hear you on that.
And right now we're collecting decisions, so I need to understand what's your initial feedback?
Well,
what stood out for you? What did you like? What didn't you like?
Wow, that's amazing, man. This is life. These are business, but it's also life lessons too.
Oh yeah.
What does a future look like for you right now? Obviously, you built something so amazing. I know it's hard to say because it's just like sky's the limit, all right? But what do you? I mean, you mentioned international, right? But what are some other things that you're working on or want to work on outside of that?
Well, I got some other projects and some coming out of the pipeline that I'm super excited about.
NDA covered, all right.
Yeah, no. And then just personal things because I always like to evaluate where you are, where you're at, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Evaluate where I'm at, where I want to go, what challenges I want to go after.
Yeah.
And so that I don't rest on my laurels either. Because I've had the agency for 9 years.
Wow.
So it's like, all right, what's next? Because the one thing I would hate to do is become a dinosaur at something where the things you're saying is just so inundated.
You talked about being a young boy from the west side of Chicago a bit ago. Let's carve into that a little bit. What does that mean?
I mean, it means, depending on who you ask. So for me, it just always goes back to why you belong where you're at. Because I got it out the mud. Born and raised west side of Chicago, first generation college student. Everyone got a story, but I'm here for a reason. And it's okay to, you know the word Papio, it's okay to do all that good stuff because you earned your seat at the table. You've earned your place in the room. You earned your seat at the table that you're building, all of those things. So it's no longer do you have to like dim your light.
Yeah. That's interesting, man, because when I hear that and other people hear that coming from Chicago or another inner city, whatever, there's stigmas that are associated with that, right? And practically speaking, you have to overcome those stigmas, right? Asking for a larger increase in your business services or stepping into these rooms where people are like, all right, automatically disqualifying you in their head, won't even say it out loud. How did you overcome that, right? Or where did you build that confidence to just innately have that coming from the west side of Chicago?
I like to say that I'm very, very grateful to have what I call a board of directors in my life.
Yeah.
People that I can go to seeking counsel with, right? And that board of directors, some have been there forever. Some, their seats change depending on what's going on. But to have something that you can benchmark off of, someone that you can, talk with to determine, am I making the right decisions? But also encouraging yourself and believing in yourself throughout the process. Because what that does, it allows you to know that I'm in a season where I'm not chasing, I'm attracting.
Ooh.
So in doing that, what's for me won't miss me, what's mine can never be taken away.
Wow.
So I can say these things boldly because I know, like, I'm going to win.
Wow. That's deep, man. We getting spiritual up here, man. I love it, man. That's
Yeah, you got to get it all, right?
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, people need to understand that every journey isn't the same, right? If you don't stumble along the way, how are you going to realize that failure, that lesson, and then do differently next time? We wouldn't be across the board where we are if we didn't have to learn things sometimes the hard way, or you have to have that lesson, especially if no one has a blueprint for you. I wrote a column that's coming out next month about nobody's going to write a blueprint for your success or what that should look like. And nobody's writing it for you. You have to create that.
Exactly.
Right? And when you create it, you're going to have to mess up. You can't. There's no eraser. You got to scratch it out and draw over it or make a different direction. But then once you have that, you're able to pass that along, right? And it might have to get tweaked again, right? But that's okay because we're forging our own lanes, our own path. Yeah.
No, I love that. Like you said, especially forging your own path. And shout out to y'all.
Yeah.
For making space for these types of conversations.
Yeah. Needed, man.
Much needed. Part of the responsibility we see ourselves charged with, Jasper, being marketers, is lowering that barrier to entry for everyone, but especially those that look like us, come from places like where we come from, talk like how we talk, and have that relatability. We're in America, and so as much as America is opportunity, it's barriers to entry. And we're true practitioners of the space too, which is important, whether it's creatively, whether it's, technology really is where the puck is not only going, but at this point. And so those things that will usually be less, intimidating to people, or they don't have knowledge of what experiential marketing is, or they just simply don't have the access. That's what this is for.
Access is huge on my list. And for me, I don't believe in gatekeeping.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'll give you the blueprint, right? Especially if I forge my own path, I'll tell you how you can condense your timeline. Because that's how we get further faster. You've already done this and you stumbled. What can I do so I don't fall? What can I do that I can get there in a shorter time frame? So I definitely believe in sharing the game and giving it out and helping people work through their solution, their obstacles to find a solution.
Yeah. I know we have some speed round questions we want to ask you, but before we get into that, you have people out there that are listening and watching that have vision, that are very project focused and can see things even before they're a reality, right? Which sounds a lot like what experiential marketing is and what it needs to be. If somebody's interested in starting their own experiential agency or working in experiential marketing, what are some steps that that person can start taking now to get to that level?
I can say, if you want to get started in experiential, keep in mind, show up. There's so many different ways you can show up. Depending on your experience level, you can start as a brand ambassador. You can start you can be an assistant on a project. You can intern. You can typically, if you go to an event and you see someone with a shirt on that says XYZ brand, probably with an agency. At the time, they're with an agency. Very seldom is the brand showing up, working the event.
Wow.
So, but you can just ask them, like, I think this is so cool, what you're doing. I would love to find out more about it. Who can I talk to? And then follow up. The fortune is always in the follow-up.
Wow.
So in following up with that person to find out, thank you so much, I met you here, wanted to find out more about opportunities, and then telling about yourself. Because you just never know. You may not have that experience, but you may have that skill set that is transferable to what they're looking for.
Yeah.
100%.
Great advice.
It's dope. So Alan mentioned a fire round, Jasper. Man, we want to keep it very much like it sounds like. No pressure, but it's meant to give you just a short train of thought to think about what the truth is to the questions We got 10 questions for you, okay?
Okay,
You ready for that?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
I'm ready.
Okay.
No pre-reads, man.
No pre-reads. I'm sorry.
You didn't say I can't go at my own pace. Slow you down.
All right, you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay. What's one marketing trend you think is overrated?
Oh gosh, a marketing trend that's overrated. That Saratoga water.
What's a brand you think is killing it right now?
Who paid my last invoice? No, I think there's so many brands killing it right now. I did see a ad for. I thought the ad was dope. I did see an ad for Lacoste,
Okay.
and I don't work with them, so this is not an ad.
Right.
But I did what they used Taxi Driver in New York to base their ad on. So he was wearing Lacoste like it was an everyday cab driver, a real cab driver.
Yeah.
So I love when brands, again, try to be authentic in what they're doing. So they're not just models; they're like real people, and you bring them into the fold, and you give opportunity to that. So I
Wow.
always think that that's dope.
Dope.
What strategy gets the best ROI, return on investment?
Any strategy that Full Court puts together. No, but for the strategy that gets the best ROI, that's such a loaded question because it really just depends on the vertical. It's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
So I hate to steer you wrong, but
No, that's facts. We'll interlude real quick by letting everyone know that the catch-all answer is it depends. There are many marketers. Favorite marketing campaign of all time?
is that the one I did or anybody else?
Anybody?
Of course, it's the What's Up. Budweiser.
Yeah.
What's Up? Like I think anything that's almost like annoying.
Yeah.
Everyone picks on that you just can't, being that we're in Chicago, it's the 773-202. Exactly.
Jasper, what's one mistake you see new businesses make in marketing?
Gosh, one mistake that new businesses make is they put all their money behind one person, one influencer, and I believe in spreading out because if something don't work, you need to have a backup plan, right? Multiple touch points. Let's split this up. Like, yes, we can put 40% of the budget, but let's not put all our money on one horse because we're tying our equity with theirs.
Yep.
And what if it doesn't work?
Yep. It's like an index fund.
Yeah.
You know?
Safe, be a little safe. Yeah.
Yeah. If you had to cut every platform but one as far as marketing goes, which one are you keeping?
Like social platforms?
Yep.
It depends on the vertical. But I would say one that it depends who my target audience is. For example, if I'm going for something that's geared towards 35 to 54, maybe a little older, skewing heavily women, I want to be on Facebook. I want shareable content. I want family content. I want that shareable. If I'm going for younger, anybody between 18 to 30 who business or if someone is in like entrepreneurial, I want to be on Threads because they're sharing information.
Yep.
If I want to talk to even younger, I'm on TikTok, right? If I would just want to, it depends. So it just depends.
Yep. What's one word to describe your marketing style?
Winning.
Hashtag.
Who is on your Mount Rushmore of business?
Oh my gosh. Who's on my Mount Rushmore of business? I would definitely put Oprah Winfrey on there. I just so happen to be an Oprah Winfrey Diamond in the Rough Scholar, so
There
she
you
don't
go.
pay for me to go to Morehouse. But I just love the fact with her that you got paid for doing what you love. So anytime you can get paid for doing what you love doing, especially when people don't see it for you winning or making it, and you're like, whether the show make it, I'm still gonna win.
Right.
So I love that.
Dope. Okay.
And of course, there's so many dope men I could put on the Mount Rushmore, but we got Oprah, we got 3 more spots, so we'll take it.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, I like that. Yeah, we'll take them. Yeah, we got. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Last one for you, Jasper. What would you say is your superpower?
Oh, it's so funny. I was just talking to my friend last night about superpowers. I was giving them their flowers about,
Yeah.
oh, you do this so well. So my superpowers, plural.
Powers.
So I would say keeping a level head. I'm not gonna go into that poem. I'm not gonna spit Invictus.
Right.
But no, I definitely say keeping a level head during conflict, right? Or because so many people, like you said, the anxiety kicks in. They're all over the place. But if I'm gonna be the captain and steer this ship, I can't be panicking.
Because people respond to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you put out, you get in. So if the building is burning down, I gotta give you peace of mind and we're gonna get up out of here. So that's just with every project.
Yeah.
Obstacles are gonna happen. We just had a huge obstacle that we got through recently and everyone was panicking and I had to keep a level head because I need to find a solution. If I panic and pull the fire alarm, everybody's gonna go crazy.
Right.
So I would say that as a leader, one of my superpowers is definitely keeping a level head. Another one is just faith that's just so incredible it can move a mountain.
Faith of a mustard
You
seed.
better believe it. So, because I believe that if I put it out there that this is gonna happen, and then you see the manifestation of what I just said, it's gonna make you believe more in yourself because if he just did this and it happened, let me try it. Yeah. And then I think the third superpower would be just getting it done. Like, if I say I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
You know what you sound like? You sound like an alpha man. Maybe it's just me, but
You know what?
Hey.
I knew it was cold in here for a reason.
Hey.
I'm at IMJ Hagan on all platforms. Thank you all for having me. I'm just excited for what you all are doing with this platform and what's next. So,
Well, y'all, we appreciate y'all tuning in to another episode of Marketing Mentality. Our guest here, Jasper, came in, dropped the gems. Be sure to continue to tune in, watch, listen, comment, subscribe, all the great things. We'll keep on giving y'all these great conversations. Check y'all next time.